All right, class. So for today, for this lesson, we're going to be looking at um, how authors develop their characters and their stories, basically, and how that influences what the story ends up looking like. So, I mean, if you look at this under the activating strategy, you got this good uh, PDF that gives you some ideas of how the setting, the culture, how they might influence the plot. Um, you can be asking things like, how do people behave in this world? What makes them behave that way? How does the setting impact the characters' choices? The rules people live by would include culture, structure of society, values, and beliefs. These are all going to be things that influence the character and the plot of a story, and that includes, in a memoir, there's going to have to be uh, a setting, and there's going to have to be a story there. So I'm going to show you how writers include some details about the setting, characters, and themselves in their memoirs. And so we're going to look at Trevor Noah's memoir, and I'm going to go back to that same part of the memoir that we read yesterday in class, that we read on Tuesday in class. And so we'll look at what are some of the things that he does to kind of paint a picture of who the characters and the setting and who he is, to kind of reveal what the characters are and what they're struggling with. So we go back to the story here and get into this. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, there we go. So I skipped down to, this is part 1 here. And so, like right at the very beginning, he jumps right into the action. So when he gets into that, I was 9 years old when my mother threw me out of a moving car. So that jumps right into the action, right? And this reveals something about his mother, right? We don't know yet why she would have thrown him out of a moving car. Maybe it was something bad. Maybe it was something to save him. I would assume if it's a mother, it's going to be something protective, right? But you never know. She could have been an abusive mother. We're going to have to read to find out. Then he gets into some setting here. So it happened on a Sunday, and I know it was a Sunday because we were coming home from church. And every Sunday in my childhood meant church. So he's kind of giving you some background information here and kind of giving you his setting. Like, this is where he comes from. When he gets down to the part down here below that where he talks about South Africans adopting the religion of their colonizers, he's giving you more background and more of his setting. Like, this is what, South Africa was dealing with apartheid. And so Christianity was something that was brought in from the outside. And so he has a mixed view of it, understandably. And so then we get into some more, the next paragraph after that, where he talks about his whole family being religious, his mom being Team Jesus all the way. So this is some characterization. Like, you can kind of picture her, right? Like, she's gung-ho for Jesus. And his grandmother balanced her Christian faith with the traditional Zoseph belief she grew up communicating with the spirits of her ancestors. So there's some characterization as well. You can kind of see that he can see that there's a difference in their spirituality. And so he's already painting a picture of kind of some difference between those two. And then he kind of gets his own opinion in here. Like, he didn't understand why Black people abandoned their own faith. And then he kind of gives a little bit of a critique of religion here after that. And then after that, he gets into how his childhood involved church and like kind of the setting of three different types of churches, like what was different about these three different churches. So he kind of characterizes the church settings in those instances, like what was the black church like, what was the white church like, and what was the mixed church like. And then he goes into more details about each of those. I kind of in a couple of classes I kind of skipped over that part because I wanted to kind of get into more details about some things. But I think those are good to read too. I just kind of didn't want to spend all my time on those details for our purposes. And then when he got to the Christian karaoke, like then he talked about more setting. He talked about like where he lived and like how far it was from these different churches. So again, that's setting. He talked about like how far they had to travel to get to each of these different churches. And then he gets into some characterization in the next part. The Sunday when he was hurled from the car, how his mother woke him up, made him porridge. So that tells you something about his mother, right? Like she cares for him. He took his bath while she dressed his brother Andrew, who was 9 months old. And then when they got into the car wouldn't start. And how his mom had this ancient broken down Beetle that she picked up for next to nothing. Okay, so this also tells you something about his mom, right? It tells you that she was thrifty. Maybe she didn't have a ton of money. So he doesn't say that directly, but he says it through these details. And then he gives some of his own characterization here, like he hates secondhand cars, and then he gives all these reasons why he hates them. You find out a little bit about him, like he got detention for being late for school because of them. He had to be hitchhiking on the side of the freeway, and that secondhand cars were the reason why his mom got married to this jerk who tortured them and ended up shooting his mom in the back of the head. But in spite of all that, he loved church. In spite of the 9-hour slog, he loved it. So this is all kind of getting into that idea of characterization and setting. And so you get a little bit more characterization here, like about what he was thinking. When he talks about, when the Volkswagen refused to start, inside my head I was praying, please say we'll just stay home. Please say we'll just stay home. But you kind of get the picture that like, he knows that she's not going to stay home. She's determined. Like she's the kind of woman who she doesn't give up when things are hard. So she says we're going to catch the minibuses. And so this kind of all gives you a little bit of a picture of what his family is like. It doesn't give you a lot of details yet. You're going to find out more of those as you read the story, but it kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse into to what those characters are like, what those people are like. He doesn't say it directly, but he just says it through the details, and that's kind of what characterization is. So yeah, that's kind of what I want you to do through the story that you're going to be reading today as well. I want you to read through it and kind of look for what are some of those character details that you see. I want you to kind of analyze it. So what do you learn about the characters through the details that you see? And what do you learn about the setting through the details that you see?